That night, the ocean was deceptively calm, a calm that lulled you into a false sense of security. Up in first class on the RMS Titanic, the grandest ship ever built. Laughter and music drifted through the opulent hallways. They called her unthinkable, a testament to human pride. But down in the crowded confines of third class, where dreams and luggage were packed together, a young woman named Clara Dawson held her son tightly. The date was April 14, 1912. Clara wasn't wealthy or influential. Her fortune was far more precious. It was hope. Hope for a new beginning in America, where her husband, Thomas, was anxiously waiting on the docks of New York. She'd whispered a promise to her 6-year-old boy, "When we arrive, you'll see your papa again." And with the pure faith of a child, he believed her. Meanwhile, on the upper deck, a violinist named Henry Wallace was tuning his instrument. He had performed for royalty and dignitaries, but tonight, his audience was a sea of anonymous faces, strangers who offered fleeting smiles as they passed. His music was his truest companion, the one thing that brought order to a world starkly divided by wealth and status. At 11:40 p.m., the unthinkable occurred. A deep, grinding shudder vibrated through the massive vessel. A sound like thunder erupting from beneath the waves. Clara was jolted awake by the noise, her protective instincts immediately wrapping around her child. The corridors quickly filled with a nervous energy, voices trying to reassure each other. "It's nothing, we just scraped an iceberg." But the subtle, yet undeniable tilt of the floor told a different, more terrifying story. Panic began to set in as the ship's angle grew steeper. Chaos erupted. As Clara fought her way through the crowds to the upper decks, officers were desperately trying to maintain order, their voices cracking as they shouted, "Women and children first." Men were instructed to stand back, to wait. Clara clutched the letter in her coat pocket. The last one she'd received from Thomas. His familiar handwriting, his loving promise, "I'll be waiting for you at the harbor, my love. Don't be late." But as she looked around, she saw a horrifying sight. The lifeboats, their only chance of survival, were being lowered half-empty into the black icy sea. There wasn't enough room. There wasn't enough time. The ship was dying. Far below, in the midst of the escalating pandemonium, Henry Wallace and his fellow musicians gathered. They exchanged a look of silent understanding that passed between them. No words were needed. Henry simply nodded, raised his bow, and the first haunting notes of "Nearer, My God," to thee floated into the freezing night air. As screams of terror echoed across the deck, the music remained a beacon of calm, a fragile thread of grace in a world tearing itself apart. From the lifeboat she was being lowered into, Clara could hear it faintly, a beautiful, heartbreaking melody. She wondered if she would ever hear something so beautiful again. At 2:20 a.m., with a final, deafening groan, the great ship broke into and slipped beneath the dark waves of the Atlantic. The lights flickered and died. The music stopped. A profound silence fell over the ocean. A quiet so deep and vast it could only be described as pure, unadulterated sorrow. When the sun finally rose, it illuminated a grim scene. The calm sea was now a graveyard, littered with lifeboats, floating debris, and the shattered dreams of thousands who would never reach the shore of their new lives. Clara and her son were among the few who survived. She carried the weight of that night with her for the rest of her days, and she never remarried. Her heart belonged to the man waiting at a harbor she never reached. Every year, on the anniversary of that tragic night, April 14th, she would go to the shore in New York. She would sit by the vast ocean, take out Thomas's well-worn letter, and read his words aloud. Her voice would tremble, but she never missed a year. Her son would sit beside her, listening in quiet reverence. "I'll be waiting for you at the harbor, my love. Don't be late." And as she closed her eyes, for just a fleeting moment, she could almost hear the faint, ghostly echo of a violin playing a final, beautiful elegy for the ship that never came home. Thank you for joining me for this story. If you found it moving, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more tales from history. We'll see you next time.